Hello everyone, how are you all? Welcome to my channel Economics Made Easy.
Start with production possibility curve today as we discussed in the last lecture. So let's see what we learned today. First is what is a production possibility curve. Second would be some of the concepts related to production possibility curve. Then what is marginal rate of transformation. And then we'll study about what is an opportunity cost. So what is a production possibility curve? So as the name suggests, production possibility. This tells us the possibility of production that can happen in the economy. So like the definition says, it shows the different possible combinations of two goods that can be produced. So we'll see why we are taking two goods. We'll see this in the next slide when we talk about the assumptions of production possibility curve. So it tells us the combination of two goods that we can produce. Now this part is important with the given amount of resources and the given amount of given level of technology. So these two things are important. Why? Because we have to see what amount of resources are we provided with and what level of technology are we using for producing that combination. So production possibility curve gives us those points wherein we are producing those two goods or a combination of those two goods given the amount of resources and given the level of technology. So these two things are important. I have underlined them, so they're important. So next we'll see what are the assumptions of a production possibility curve. First is fixed quantity factors of production. Now, one assumption that production possibility curve makes is that the quantity of factors of production or whatever is going into producing a particular good is fixed. We cannot change it. We cannot increase it. We cannot decrease it. We are given that factor in a fixed quantity and we have to produce using that fixed quantity only. The second one is resources are fully and efficiently utilized. This means there is full employment of resources in the economy. You cannot use these sources beyond the particular level that you're using them. That means they're fully and efficiently utilized. There is no efficient utilization of the resources that you can make other than the one that is already prevailing in the economy. The third is technology of production remains constant. Now the technology that you're using for producing those combination of two goods remains constant. It is neither upgrading nor deteriorating. So this is important assumption that there is no upgradation happening in the technology. The machines that you're using are the same that have been there in the economy. So the production possibility curve assumes that. And the last assumption, but very important, is that the economy is producing only two goods. This is what I said in the last slide. So the assumption economics is based on assumptions. So this is one point I have been told by my teachers. So assumption of two goods, as in the economy is producing only two goods. So that is one assumption that PPC makes. So we can say two goods to be like X and Y, or we can just say they are guns and butters, or we can say cloth and food. Any two goods you can take, but just two goods. Yeah. So now let's start drawing up production possibility curve. So there is a table you can see on your screens. There's a table given. So this is a production possibility schedule. A production possibility schedule is just a tabular form which shows that how much goods can be produced, how much of both the goods are being produced with the given resources. So this just shows everything in a tabular form. So that's why it's a schedule. This is actually used to make a production possibility curve. So we are being given the schedule on the screen. Now we'll see how a production possibility curve is made out of that. So we plot all the points on the y-axis, on the x-axis. On the x-axis we have taken good X, or you can name it any good, like we took guns and butter. So on the x-axis you can actually say that it's guns on the x-axis. Let's say we are taking guns on x-axis, and let's say we are taking butter on the y-axis. You can take x and y, anything you find easier. Okay. Now what we've done is we have plotted points, and if we see in the previous one at point P, we have good x and we have good y. So good x is 0 and good y is 21. So on this graph, you mark 21 point P, where good x, your good x is 0 and your good y is 21. Similarly, we'll mark all the points and we'll join the points. So this is our production possibility curve that we'll make on the basis of our production possibility schedule. Fine. Now these dotted lines that are being shown is basically the change that is happening. So if you're moving from if you're moving from point C to point D, suppose. So what is happening over here is that your production of Y is going down, but your production of good X is increasing. Right? So there is change happening. So this part, this going down of Y is change in Y that we are seeing, and this going up or going forward of X is the change in good X, or your change in guns, and this is your change in butter. So this is how we look at a production possibility curve. This tells us the combination, like this tells us that with the given resources and the technology available, you can produce 18 units of butter and you can produce 2 units of guns. So this point shows us the combination, right? Combination of the goods that we can produce. Now on the right side, you can see that I have marked some points inside the curve and outside the curve. So we'll first start with point A. Now this point A is the attainable output for us. Why? Because it lies on the production possibility curve. So any point that is lying on the production possibility curve is attainable for the economy. As in, we can say that point A economy has all the required resources and all the required technology to produce at point A, or to produce at this, to produce 1 unit of good X and maybe say 20 units of good Y. So the economy can do this at point A. The economy is good to go to produce at point A. Now let's look at point F. So this is a point inside the production possibility curve. This is our production possibility curve. This is a point inside the production possibility curve. Now this tells us inefficient utilization of resources. This point indicates that there is inefficient utilization of resources, that resources are not being employed to their fullest. So the economy is not able to produce at its production possibility curve. Or if the resources had been utilized fully, the point would have lied somewhere on this line. Okay. Now a point, so the economy can improve by efficiently using the utilization of resources. It can move this point to the production possibility curve by efficient utilization of resources. Now if we talk about point G, so this is a point that lies outside the production possibility curve. Now this point G shows us that there is basically is a combination of unattainable output combination, right? This can't be attained by the economy because the economy does not have the sufficient amount of resources to put in to increase or to produce a combination that doesn't lie or that lies beyond the production possibility curve. So this can only happen when the production possibility curve shifts to this point, and it's somewhere like here, so parallel to the original production possibility curve. Only then can the economy attain point G. So we'll see how the shift happens. As of now, this is I hope this is clear. Now these diagrams that we saw actually help us in defining the two main properties of a production possibility curve. The first one is that it slopes downwards. Right, now if we look at the previous production possibility curve, this is sloping downwards from left to right. Okay, now the main reason behind this is full employment of resources. There is full employment of resources in the economy, and thus our production curve or the PPC is sloping downwards because because if we have to increase the production of good G, like we saw in this, if we have to increase the production of good X, we'll have to decrease the production of Y. So to increase the production of one good, we have to sacrifice the production of some other good. So that's why it's always sloping downwards. The next one is, the next point is, it's concave to the point of origin. Right. Now let's see. This happens because mainly of the same reason, because to produce one more quantity of the good, of good X suppose, we have to sacrifice some units of good Y. So producing an additional unit of good X leads to sacrificing of units for some other good. And as we increase the production of good X, we'll have to sacrifice more and more of good Y. So the shape thus comes out to be concave of a production possibility curve. Okay. Now, what is the slope of a production possibility curve? Okay, so like we discussed in the last slide, that to produce one more unit of good X, we have to let go of one more unit of good Y. So that is what we called marginal rate of transformation. How is the sacrificing of one good transforming into the production of other good? So it's basically quantity of good Y that is given up in exchange for additional unit of good X. To produce one more unit of good X, how much Y are we giving up? That's called the slope of a production possibility curve. Now it also has a formula. I've mentioned the formula over here. So it's delta Y upon delta X. Delta Y, change in Y, that is how much amount of good Y is being lost, divided by delta X, that is how much amount of good X is being gained. So it's easy. You just have to memorize the formula, and it calculates for us the marginal rate of transformation. Now, shift in production possibility curve. So there are basically two shifts in production possibility curve. We'll first discuss a shift that shifts entirely either to the right or to the left. Right. So a shift entirely to the right happens when new stock of resources are being discovered. This means that the entire production possibility curve has shifted, or it has increased. The production in the economy has increased. Now this can happen because of two reasons. When the resources that are available with the economy goes up, right, or the technology that is available updates, or updates in a way that it is helping in production of goods or better goods. So of course, like we can take an example for this, that the government policy of Make in India. There is advancement in technology, so the production would go up, right? Now similarly, a fall in the production possibility curve or a leftward shift of the production possibility curve happens when the resources are destroyed because of, we can say, any natural calamity. So this happens when the resources in the economy go down or the technology deteriorates, right? Now the resources can be destroyed because of any natural calamity like earthquake or fire or war. Or we can say, like the example when Maggie product was destroyed. This happened because of change in the government policy. So the product was destroyed. That was when the resources fell down and their production possibility curve also shifted to the left. It fell down. So that's one very great example when the production of Maggie was actually destroyed. The Maggie product was destroyed. So that's a very good example of the production possibility curve shifting to the left. And there is also one more reason that the technology that is being used in the production of the good is updated or deteriorates. Now, this is when the entire production possibility curve shifts. There is one more type of shift that happens, that is when not the entire curve shifts, it's just the production possibility curve shifts for just one good and it does not shift for the other one. So the reasons remain the same. Maybe the resources have increased, maybe the technology has updated, but it happens only for one good and not for the other good. Like suppose if we take good X to be guns and good Y to be butter. So we can say that maybe a new technology has been developed or there are more resources available that lead to shift in the production of good X and shift in the production of good X and the production for good Y does not increase. Similarly, if there is a shift from just the good Y side, then we can say that the production. Now let's see what is an opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is defined as the cost of alternative or the opportunity given up or surrendered. It's basically a trade-off, right? So it's a cost of the next best alternative. So let's understand it with the help of an example. Now suppose you're given a choice that you have to pursue your MBA or you have to you have to go and work at your job. Okay. So now what is your opportunity cost for this? If you are, if you decide over MBA, so the opportunity cost would be the amount that you would have earned at your job working for 2 years, right? If you would have chosen your job, your opportunity cost would be the knowledge that you would have gained if you would have chosen your MBA. So it's easy, it's just opportunity cost is just the cost of any alternative that you have foregone to pursue or to choose some good or to choose a particular opportunity over some other opportunity or some alternative over some other alternative. So there's a question that I've framed for you guys, so it'll actually help you make things clear. So suppose, now this is the question. Suppose you choose science stream, like if you've stepped in into 11th and you have an option of choosing science, arts and commerce and you go for science. Now you have two other options, alternatives or options, which is arts and commerce. If you would have chosen option A, that is arts, you would have expected a career offering you a salary of 3 lakh annually. If you would have chosen commerce, you would have expected a career giving you 4 lakh, a salary of 4 lakhs per annum. So what is your opportunity cost of choosing the science stream now? Now opportunity cost, as we saw, is the cost of next best alternative foregone. So what's your alternatives over here? You have two alternatives, arts and commerce. The respective amount of both those alternatives are given to you. You just have to choose the opportunity cost of choosing the science stream. So now this is the solution. So the opportunity cost of choosing the science stream is the alternative opportunity given up. So there are two alternative opportunities given to you. arts and you're given commerce. Now the opportunity cost of choosing science would be 4 lakh. Why 4 lakh? Because it's the cost of next best alternative. We don't have to take the cost of all the alternatives together. We just have to take the cost of next best alternative, and your next best alternative is commerce because it's offering you a salary of 4 lakh. It isn't arts because arts would offer you a salary of 3 lakhs, right? So the next best would be your commerce offering you a salary of 4 lakh. Thus the opportunity cost of selecting science is 4 lakh because you've actually foregone this 4 lakh to go for science stream. So I hope things are a bit clear over here. Now we'll move to a practical question. So this is basically calculating the marginal rate of transformation. So like we've actually seen how it's calculated. I'll just mark the points. Suppose this is A and this is B, this is C, D, E, and this is F. Now you have to find the marginal rate of transformation for C, right? We know the formula, that is delta Y upon delta X. That is amount of Y that you're sacrificing to get that additional amount of X. So change in Y is how much? If we look at C over here, at C point, change is 19 minus 17, which is of 2 units. And if we look at good X, it's 2 minus 1. We go this way. It's 2 minus 1, which is 1. So the marginal rate of transformation at point C would be 2, or the slope of your production possibility curve would be 2. And the last thing for today is how the production possibility curve and the economic problems are related. So in order to solve all the economic problems, we have production possibility curve that can actually solve all the problems. So every point on the production possibility curve helps us know the proper allocation of resources that can happen, what to produce and how much to produce, and also how to produce it. So we know the amount of resources available, we know the technology available. It thus helps us to know how much can we produce. A point on the production possibility curve tells us there is full employment of resources, so it tells us how much can we produce. It also tells us the amount of the technology that is available, so it helps us in determining how to produce the goods. Now every point on the production possibility curve tells us that there is full utilization of resources, as we discussed in the slide wherein we discussed the definition of the production possibility curve. Economic efficiency, every point on the production possibility curve tells us that there is economic efficiency in the economy because there is full employment of resources as well as the most updated form of technology is being used. The fourth point, economic growth. This is being shown by the production possibility curve by a point that lies above the production possibility curve or towards the right of the production possibility curve. Like we saw that any point that is to the right of the production possibility curve actually depicts a level that is unattainable for the economy. So if the economy is able to move to that point, it means that there is economic growth happening in the economy. There is higher number of resources being employed in the economy, as well as there is technology upgradation happening. So a point towards the left shows us economic growth. So this was all for today, and we'll be back with our next video lecture soon. Till then, stay home, stay safe, and keep learning.